Hi everyone, and welcome to Friday's Easter Reflection. We begin with the Bible reading. Mark's Gospel, and it's chapter 15. Just a heading, the crucifixion of Jesus. A certain man from Cyrene, Simon the father of Alexander and Rufus, was passing by on his way in from the country, and they forced him to carry the cross. They brought Jesus to the place called Golgotha, which means the place of the skull. Then they offered him wine mixed with myrrh, but he did not take it. And they crucified him. Dividing up his clothes, they cast lots to see what each would get. It was 9 a.m. when they crucified him. The written notice of the charge against him read, "The King of the Jews." They crucified 2 rebels with him, one on his right and one on his left. A simple reading that massively understates what was taking place. Crucifixion was a terrible thing. It was designed by the Romans to keep control, to make sure they subjugated rebellious populations in case there was any trouble. It was the ultimate punishment. It was meant to induce horror and dread and fear, to make people shudder and recoil even at the thought of it or the mention of it. And yet this symbol has become the symbol of the Christian faith. How and why did that take place? Well, before I answer that, let me read something from a book by the theologian N.T. Wright. And he refers to an online website by a youthful and energetic Christian organisation entitled the Jesus Army. And he quotes from the website. "You can't get away from it. It's everywhere. The cross. In homes, in films, in paintings, in pop videos, worn as an earring, on a necklace, stitched or studied onto leather or denim, tattooed onto skin. What would Coca-Cola or McDonald's give to own a symbol that millions wear around their necks every day? The cross is the universal Christian symbol, acknowledged by millions of Christians everywhere as the single visual sign of the faith." Which is weird, isn't it? Because the cross was originally a symbol of suffering and defeat. The Roman Empire killed thousands of its enemies by nailing them to wooden crosses. It's like wearing a gibbet around your neck or hanging a little golden lethal injection from your necklace. Jesus Christ was executed 2,000 years ago by the Romans, but Christians believe Jesus didn't stay dead, that Jesus beat death and rose again, beyond death's reach. That makes the cross not a sign of death, but a sign of the end of death. A sign of hope, a sign of possibility for every human being. That's why Christians wear crosses. The Jesus Army wear and give away bright red crosses. Jesus Army member Chris, 38 years old, says, "We give away hundreds of crosses. People like them. They glow in UV light, which makes them popular with clubbers. But all sorts of people like them and use them to help them think about God and to pray. They're designed to stand out," he adds. "The cross of Jesus means we can be forgiven and can have a new start. Even death has been clobbered. That's worth shouting about." A powerful indication of what this symbol can and does mean. I'm reminded of a story I think I read in Life and Work a good number of years ago about someone in North Berwick, down in East Lothian. And the story was of a home on one of the main streets, and they used to have a little cross in the window. And for some reason it got moved. And then there was a note through the door saying, could you please put the cross back in the window? This was from someone who walked that street regularly every day. And for them, they'd got so used to seeing it over the time that it had been there, whether that was months or years, I can't remember. But they had noticed it, they looked for it every day they passed that window. And when they saw that wee cross, they knew everything was well. So the homeowner put the cross back in the window. And I think, if I can remember rightly, there was another note through the door the following day thanking them for that. I have a little cross that I have in my study. And it was made by my son David when he was at primary school. And it's very simply made as part of their technical work in the school. And it's fragile. It could easily be broken, but this has been my study for years and years and years. But what a simple sign, isn't it? The cross. And yet, it's so powerful because of what it did represent and what it represents now. It has power and it has mystery. And the power of it as a symbol draws us into that mystery. And the question is how the Roman symbol was totally subverted by the Christian faith. So it lost its power the way the Romans used it, and it became something, a symbol of renewal and power and salvation. How did that happen? Well, of course, for Christians, it's a symbol not of the end of something. It's not even a prelude to something else. It's true sometimes Christians always make the cross as a necessary stepping stone to the resurrection. Without the cross, you wouldn't have the resurrection, so almost the cross is necessary for that. But what we fail to realise, whilst that's true, that robs the cross of meaning in itself, a decisive moment in itself, a powerful symbol of an event in itself. That the cross is this great, powerful event. The death of Jesus was the turning point of history. Now that seems incredible. How do you get your head round that? Well, you don't. The Christian story is in narrative form, obviously, and it's meant to impact us as a drama, and it's full of symbolism, and that symbolism touches our heart first and foremost. Then that leads to investigation and an exploration of what this faith means, and that's where the mind kicks in to try and make sense of all this. But it begins with the simple faith of the heart. And in a short reflection like this, I can't go any further than that. Because exploring and trying to understand all the ramifications of what the cross means is a lifetime of effort. But I would like to think that this Easter could be the starting point of our journey of faith. It doesn't matter if we've been at this for years. I've been a Christian since the age of 18. I grew up in the church, but I made this decision at 18 to follow Jesus. And from 18 to my mid-60s now, I've been exploring and wrestling and studying. And sometimes I feel I'm still at the beginning. But it's a wonderful journey. Some of you listening may only have kind of tuned into Christian things recently. And that's okay too. Because we all start sometime and somewhere. But it's a journey, it's a pilgrimage, to use a popular term these days. A pilgrimage into mystery. And the cross has this paradoxical element to it. The way the Romans used it and how horrific that was, and the way the Christians use it as a sign of triumph, of God's love, of God's grace, of God's redemptive power on the other side. And it's that that's broken all that Rome represents as a symbol and as an empire. And that's the power and the mystery and the message of Easter. And that's what draws us ever forward into this great story as we explore it and as we embed it in our hearts and lives and can become transformed by it through the grace of God. And that's why it's called Good Friday. Because Friday's not really that good as the day Jesus was crucified. But it's called Good Friday because it was a victory. God's victory over the darkness, over sin, over death. Now there's a message to grasp and to try and understand. May God grant us grace on this pilgrimage and wisdom on the journey. Thank you for watching. I'll see you tomorrow.